Okay, good evening, everybody. It is June 6th, 2021. You are now watching Real Talk with Ronnie live. First of all, I want to thank you guys for watching tonight. We have a very jam packed show. We got three guests on tonight. The first guest is my running mate, Tim Walsh. He's running for county commissioner here in Bergen County. So the two of us, we are the we are the dream team here in Bergen County, and we're gonna take the Bergen County government by storm. So that's my first guest tonight. My second and third guests are running for council in the township of Rutherford, or actually, I think it's a borough. The borough of Rutherford here in Bergen County. The two guests are going to be um, Jasmine Gray and Peter Tuccino. I think I'm saying that right. So they will be on the show later on. Well, okay, so it is June 6th, and for those of you who might not know, it is sweltering hot in New Jersey now. I believe today it was 95 degrees, 95, and I think it's only going to get hotter, but that's okay, right? Because actually, I went to American Dream today. It's that huge mall. I believe it's in East Rutherford, and I believe it's the biggest mall in the U.S. And it was just so good to see people out in the open going about their lives like it's normal, right? And it's good that at that complex, that huge mega complex, they don't require you to wear a mask if you've had your vaccine, and actually there's no requirement to wear a mask anyway. So it's good to see some semblance of normalcy coming back to our society. Now, as I mentioned last week, my website is up and running. It's ronaldjosephlind.com, ronaldjosephlind.com. So for those of you who are watching, I encourage you to check out my website, check out my campaign. And if you want to contribute and donate money, that's always, welcome. Tim and I, we're in a very tough race in Bergen County. As you guys know, Bergen County, the county government right now is stacked 7-0 Democrats, right? They are the incumbents. And anytime there's challengers trying to knock off the person or the people who are in power, is always going to be a tough race. So Tim and I, we're going to need a lot of money and a lot of resources. So anything that you can, scrounge up will be much appreciated. All right, guys, let me bring on my first guest, my running mate, the awesome Tim Walsh. Hey, Tim, buddy, what's up?
Hi, running mate friend. How's it going?
Good, man. Just keep him busy. And as you know, we've both been running around, right?
Mhm.
Almost every night of the week, you and I are both at somewhere, right? At some event in some town in Bergen County. Bergen County has 70 towns, right? So we've got a lot of room to make up. So Tim, welcome to our show. This is your first time, right? And I hope it's the first of many, many times. I mean, throughout the campaign, we hope to have you on, and and I do want to have maybe a forum, right? Like an online forum where you and I can have the opportunity to talk to voters or anyone who wants to ask us questions, right? Because I think that's very important for any campaign. It's the accessibility, right? We need to be accessible to the voters, to our constituents, right? To the people that are going to be voting for us. Because at the end of the day, the constituents, they're what matters, right?
Right, and that's what appeals to people is accessibility, because you can't imagine how many politicians there are who don't even know what that means.
Right.
And are very unresponsive.
Yep. So, Tim, why don't you give us a little rundown on Tim Walsh? Who is Tim Walsh, and what makes you tick?
Who is Tim Walsh? I've heard of that guy. Listen, let me tell you, when people ask me where I'm coming from, my background, I tell them, when I was growing up, some of my earliest memories involve the bass line from My City Was Gone playing in the background as Rush Limbaugh's theme song, if you know what I mean, at 12 o'clock on weekdays. I've always been a patriotic American. I've always been proud of my country. I've always been proud to live in New Jersey. I'm a lifelong Ramsey resident, and it's this is home. And a couple of years ago, when Mr. Donald Trump was running for president, I really got inspired to get more involved as an activist, as someone actually trying to make a change. And by writing myself in for an uncontested county committee race, I got my start.
Okay, so you got your start when, in 2016?
That was 2016. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. In the primary ballot, I saw no petition filed for my local county committee seat, and I was like, okay, I'll do it. Nobody else will.
Okay,
But
great.
I'm very glad I did, because through the Young Republicans, through the Bergen County Republicans, that set me up with connections to my political operative career, and it's been a thrill ride. It's been a very, very enjoyable couple of years.
Okay, so why don't you walk us through your last few years? So you're an operative, right? And you've
Yep.
been on the Bergen County, political scene for quite some years, right? So why don't you tell us, what you've been doing?
Sure. In 2018, I linked up with John McCann's District 5 House campaign, and I was, I kind of volunteered to take on a leadership role where they assigned me to canvass door to door in Warren County, which, if you've ever been to, not only is it far from here, but it's not the easiest to go door to door out in
How long
rural
does it
New Jersey.
drive from Bergen County to Warren County?
At least an hour.
At least an hour. Wow.
Depending on where you get into. If you're going all the way to Belvedere, it's like an hour 20.
Okay.
But in any case, I like to kind of pride myself on actually having an impact on how that primary turned out in 2018, because we were thinking that the worst we could afford to do in that primary was to lose 60-40 in Warren, and then the
Okay.
rest of it would carry us.
Right.
We lost Warren 51-49.
Wow. So that
And
was razor thin, right? Razor thin.
Right. And it was so much better than we thought it would be. And I like to kind of, think that I contributed to that. And so, after that, I was offered a job with the RNC to work full time in Bergen County for the rest of the year, for the fall, right through November. And, I've never looked back. It was that year, it was 84-hour weeks, long days, late nights.
Right.
But I'm going to be honest, I loved every minute of it. It was always something new every day. It was, meeting people, talking to people,
Okay.
finding out what the real America is talking about. I kind of liked that more than anything else about politics,
Right. So in 2018, when John McCann ran in the primary,
Yeah.
who was in it? If you recall.
Steve Lonigan was the other primary candidate.
Okay, so it was just them two?
Yeah, it was just the two of them. It was kind of like last year when the primary started out like a crowded field, but then narrowed down when people figured out.
Okay, great.
There's two front runners. Yeah.
Okay, so 2018, you got your first taste of political operative life by working for John McCann's campaign. Which other campaigns?
Technically working for the NJGOP. They were paying me, but
right.
McCann was the primary focus. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so through the NJGOP, you worked for John McCann's campaign. That was your first taste of electoral politics, right? And you loved it, right?
Yeah, sure.
After that, which campaign did you work on next?
Next, in 2019, I worked for the District 39 Assembly campaign for Bob Auth and Holly Shapisi.
Okay.
And that was less intense and less demanding. Thankfully,
Right.
I didn't have to work 84-hour weeks.
Right.
But it was still, it was still really good to have something where I honestly felt like I was making a difference. This is what it comes down to, is that, I don't just do it to do it.
Right.
That, this is actually something that makes a difference, moves the needle, has an effect on the world.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, look, politics, I mean, it's not like when you work in politics, especially out on the field and you're canvassing, you're going door to door knocking, like these guys, they don't get paid a lot of money, right? Like it's a lot of grunt work. So people who do it, they obviously have they have a vested interest, not for the money part of it, but for trying to make a change, right? I think that those people that are on the ground working, they deserve a lot of credit.
Oh, sure. And, let me tell you, we've had some really tremendous volunteers in Bergen County over the last couple of years who have stepped up to, help out our efforts. Mike Casey.
Of course. Mike Casey just gave us a like.
Hey, there you go. Now that I mentioned his name, he's going to like it even better. So, these are, I've been able to discover people who have, recruit people who have stayed involved, got involved because of our campaigns. And it's a really good feeling. That's what it all comes back to.
Okay, so
And then I experienced the same thing last year when working for Frank Vallata.
right, and that's actually that's how we met, right? That's the first
Yeah,
time we met.
exactly.
It was through Frank's campaign, and lo and behold, a few months later, now we're running mates. So it's
Yeah,
funny how
look at
life
that.
works, right?
Yeah, it really is. It's
Right.
crazy.
So so you went from John McCain's campaign to Senator Hawley's campaign to Frank's campaign, and now you're working on your own campaign,
Now
right?
I get to be the candidate.
Right.
Look at that.
So
I'd say it's a demotion to candidate, but in any
right.
case,
Yeah. Well, at what point did you say to yourself, you know what, I want to be a candidate. I might want to jump in the fray and actually be a candidate. I might want to, make a difference, personally speaking, and be on the ballot.
that's kind of an interesting question because the fact is that if you had asked me, where I wanted to go when I first started out in politics, I would say, oh, I want to run and run and run for president someday. But as I started kind of getting comfortable in the operative life, I found that was, just as or a little bit more fulfilling. But then last year when the opportunity came up to run for District 9, I was thinking, I could do that and
Right.
make it like kind of an act of service to the Republican
Right.
Party where I'm going to be the candidate. I'm also going to be campaigning like I have been the last few years, helping the down ballot races. But then, happily for us, we found someone who was a lot more, enthusiastic and powerful in his role as a candidate, and that's Billy Prempe.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Who actually was on my show, I believe, last week, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
So for the viewers who may not know, Tim Walsh ran for Congress from the ninth
Briefly,
congressional district. Yeah. Right. Well, I must say, anybody who runs for office, let alone Congress, right?
yeah,
That takes a lot of guts, right? And it takes a lot of courage. So I think it's very applaudable that you actually gave it a
sure,
shot, right? Because I think that's something that most people would not do, or even have the guts to even try to do, right? So I think it was yeah, I mean, look, so you ran for Congress last year, right?
yeah,
In the ninth district. And you withdrew and you endorsed the candidate who eventually got the nomination, which
yeah,
was Billy Prempe, who was a great friend of our show, who was on last week, right? So
sure, sure.
for those of you who missed that interview, you can go to the Facebook page and catch that. Yep. So okay, so you ran for Congress, and that kind of that's how you cut your teeth, right?
Yeah,
You ran for Congress, and then the next time around,
sure, sure.
you decided, you know what, let me run for something else, and you decided to run for county commissioner.
Sure.
Now, what?
Well, again, it came down to the fact that they were seeking candidates for
Right,
county commissioner because almost no one had sent in a letter, to run for it, except
right,
for you.
right.
You actually got it in before me,
And
and then
one other candidate, right? Our good friend Joe
and
Vizo,
Joe, and
right?
then
Who
yeah, then he
actually,
sent
right?
in.
And he's actually now running for state assembly in
That's
District
right.
36. He has a writing campaign. He needs 100 people, at least 100, to write his name in. And let me just quickly plug that in. If you're in the 36th district and you're voting in the primary, you have to write in Joseph Vizo Jr. And I believe that it has to look like that, right? Like if you mess it up, like the spelling in any way, shape, or form, then they just toss it, right? So if you're writing in his
Not
name,
necessarily. Yeah,
right?
if it's close enough, they'll give it to you. But
Okay. But
yeah,
anyway, yeah, if you're in the 36th district and you're a Republican or an unaffiliated voter and you're voting in the primary on Tuesday, please write in Joseph Vizo Jr. Okay. All right. So Tim, back to you. Okay. So you decided to run for commissioner. You submitted your letter of intent when? It was like end of February, right? Or end of March, or sorry, end of January?
end of January.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. It was after the January meeting in Hackensack.
Okay. Now, each one of these times that you decided to run for office, whether it was for Congress or for county commissioner, did your family or parents did they have any say?
Uh, I didn't listen. I didn't consult them this year. I didn't consult anyone. I just went with my gut.
All right,
You know, it's it's the kind of thing where listen. What's my slogan that's on my literature? Set the tone.
right,
So when I say set the tone, I mean it comes from me. The ideas start here, and that's the image I want to have. That's you know. So my parents, my family, I didn't ask them. I don't owe anything to them, especially in terms of this campaign anyway.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, they've all been very supportive, of
Oh,
course.
okay.
And,
Well, that's
you
cool.
know,
Yeah, because I know that some parents or some family members they might be like, "Oh no, you're getting involved in politics. It's such an evil, dirty, game. Tim, please don't do it." But as you said, they were supportive, right?
yeah, yeah, totally.
All right, that's cool. All right, so Tim, what are like the main issues that you want to focus on in this campaign?
Well, I mean, here's the thing: recovering from the pandemic is there's a lot of elements to it, and I think we need leaders in office who are going to do it the right way, who are actually going to be active in helping small businesses get back on their feet. All this time, New Jersey has a program for small business loans, and it we keep ending up with leftover money in this program because these Democrat leaders aren't getting the word out. They're not working with small businesses to help them get these loans or even become aware that they exist. And that's something that I think should be done a lot more is educating small businesses on how the county government and other levels of government can help them. In another aspect, it's time to take the masks off our kids, okay, and get them back in normal school under
Right.
normal circumstances. Now that we know it's possible to get back to normal in a healthy way.
Well, yeah, I
And
mean,
so,
like I was saying just before, right? I went to the American Dream Mall, which I'm not sure if you've been to, right? But it's like
yeah,
it's
once in
like
a
a huge mega complex. Well, it actually took a lot of years to actually build, right?
yeah,
But
sure did.
it was mired in like a lot of problems, right? But it's up and running now, right? And it's a great place. It's a huge place. And I was just saying that it was so good to actually, be outside, to be in public, to be social, right? And to see
Yeah,
people with their families and their little kids, running around and doing something that's, normal, right? So I think, as that happens, our society and our country, I mean, if you look at certain states like in Florida or Texas, right? Those states
yeah,
have already gone to normal already, right?
yeah,
It's in New Jersey that we're taking a bit of time. I think that's by design, but I think even the governor knows that there's a limit, right? Because I
yeah.
think most importantly, he's up for election this year, and he does think. I mean, it doesn't take a lot to know that if you keep the state, masked up and closed up,
Right.
it's not good for anyone's reelection bid.
I guarantee you, one way or another, most of these mandates will be gone by November, just so you can say, "Oh,
Yeah.
what
Right.
mandates?"
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
But
Yeah. So before you mentioned that you want to take the masks off our kids, you want to send them back to school. Anything else you want to try to focus this race on?
I listen. I think that's what people are talking about in New
Right.
Jersey. Is how do we get back to normal? How do we stop being led around by a petty tyrant and just get on back to our lives? That's what people have been wanting to do for over a year now, and it's something that you and I can set the tone in terms of
Yeah. Definitely.
how to get common sense back into our leadership.
Right. Yeah. And by the way, what are your thoughts on Governor Murphy's chances of getting reelected this year?
I think he's on shaky ground. I think that this pandemic has really kind of dirtied him up just as much as it has, dirty Andrew Cuomo or any of the other northeastern Democrat politicians you want to name. And I think I think he's right for the taking for the
Yeah.
beating.
But like, why do you think? So like Cuomo, he's gotten battered
Oh, he also has his own issues, but
and
yeah,
hammered on his COVID response, right? Especially with
right.
the nursing home deaths. I believe in New Jersey, I think we surpassed the nation in terms of COVID deaths, right? Why
We're
hasn't
up there.
Why hasn't Murphy been subjected to the same type of treatment as Cuomo or like a Gavin Newsom or any other governor who's responsible? And by the way, in this state, in the state of Jersey, Murphy is literally responsible for the deaths of over 8,000 seniors and veterans in our nursing homes, right? That's a lot of people.
Yep.
That's a lot of lost souls. So why do
I'm right
you
here in Paramus at the
Yeah.
Paramus Veterans Home.
So why do you think he hasn't been getting hammered? Or do you think it's coming, but not quite yet?
Well, the reason is because we don't have a New York Post in New Jersey. That's the reason. I
Right.
mean, when you think about it, who is going to criticize him? The Star
Right.
Ledger, the Bergen Record? I don't think, any of the major publications.
Yeah.
And he's been able to. I can't explain it. He's been able to just fly under the radar.
Right. Well, I mean, luckily we have a candidate.
I mean, Republicans have been on his
Yeah.
case
I mean,
for
look, we have a
months,
candidate.
of course.
Yeah, we have a candidate in Jack Ciattarelli, right? Who I
Yep.
think has been a phenomenal candidate, and he's going to do a great job. He's going to win, right? And I think
Sure.
he's been doing a great job going town to town, county to county, basically prosecuting the case against Murphy, right? Because
Right.
we all know that the press won't do it, right? So
Sure,
it's up to the candidates. It's up to people like you and I to tell the truth to the people, to open up their eyes, right? And I think Jack Ciattarelli, oh my God, I've never seen a guy with so much energy. He is out every single day in a different town, in a different county. He's like the Energizer Bunny, right?
Yep.
He's all over the place, and I think he's exactly what our state needs.
He is. He really is. I mean, he's doing what in just the last couple of years working as a political operative. I've seen politicians live and die just on the amount of energy they're personally investing in their campaign. You can either be an ineffective candidate who, just posts on Facebook and, doesn't really do anything else, doesn't do any of the physical legwork.
Right.
But a successful candidate does this. He goes to the people, he meets people, shakes hands, and goes door to door, and really commits himself. And I think that's what I'm seeing from Jack. That's why I think he's a terrific candidate, and that's why I think he's got a great chance to win.
Yeah. Okay, Tim. So, why don't you give us a little bit more background info about you? Like, where did you go to college? What did you major? Like, what do you like to do for fun? Right? Like, what are you doing when you're not out campaigning and paying a lot of gas money? Because this is a story that I don't think many people know. But during our policy committee vote, right? You actually, in order to curry votes and kind of campaign, right? You drove to, I believe, 800 different houses, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, and I'm astounded because that's a lot of gas money.
Let me tell you, it's for a good cause. Well,
right.
I mean, especially at this point in history, gas money is not something people have a lot to spare. But still,
well, yeah. I mean, at this point in history, gas money is sky high, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay, sorry. So go back to what you were trying to say before.
No, I was just commenting on the gas situation. That's
okay, but I was talking about your background. Like, where'd you go to school? What do you do for fun?
Oh, sure,
like,
sure. Yeah. Well, first of all, I was voted the future politician in my senior class at Bosco, and so Don Bosco Prep. I guess I've fulfilled that little obligation.
Right.
And graduated from Montclair State with a degree in humanities in 2014. And let me tell you something. We talk about colleges being left wing, liberal leaning. Montclair State is, even for a college, it's kind of out there, I got to say. I made it through without too much incident, but they have really that college in particular wants to make itself kind of the center of the New Jersey progressive Democrat world by becoming a center for by highlighting their LGBT studies program, by hosting events with Democrats. I think Bob Menendez did some kind of talk or discussion there a few years ago. But it is what it is, and and I got through that, and it took me a couple of years to find my groove, and and get involved in politics. That was just a year and a half later.
Okay, Montclair State. I believe Jack Ciattarelli's kid goes there too, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
That could be.
Yeah.
All right, it's not a bad school. It's just you gotta watch your step.
It's a very good school. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've kind of stayed local in Jersey your entire life, right? You've never had the desire to kind of go abroad or go to like a different state for college or something like that.
Oh, why would listen? Why would I go to other countries besides America?
Right.
Honestly.
No. I'm talking about like different states. Different states.
No, I like to travel. I don't mind traveling. I vacationed in the Outer Banks the last couple of years. I've I had my parents take me on road trips when I was growing up. So it's not that I don't like to travel. It's just
right.
You always want to go back home.
Yep. Home is where the heart is, right? And your heart is definitely in Bergen County, in Ramsey. By the way, Ramsey, you're from the same town as our county clerk candidate, Bridget Kelly, right?
That's for sure.
Did you guys run into each other a lot? Like, just in the past, like at the supermarket or,
Not the two of us, but she actually knows my family because
okay.
my brother and sister were in school around the same time she was. So
Right.
there's when she met my parents at our fundraiser last month, it was kind of a surreal experience as they caught up. It was a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
By the
But
way, we had a great fundraiser, right? It was a great fundraiser. It was at
right,
Nanny's in Rochelle Park. What a great resturant, right? And the
honestly,
food there
that's so
is
great.
phenomenal. Yeah,
Listen, Manny and his family, they're incredible people. I really, admire what they've been through.
for those of you who are watching this show, if you want a great Italian meal at like a great authentic place, go to Nanny's in Rochelle Park. It's right
Yep,
across the street from the ShopRite, right? It's very close.
that's close.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right, Tim. Let's see. What else can I ask you to get the viewers to know a little bit about you? All right. What about your favorite food?
Favorite food? Oh man, I ain't got no one favorite food. I love cooking.
Okay.
I've made all kinds of things in my life.
All right. Well, what is the favorite thing that you like to cook?
You know what I love? You know what I love doing Mexican.
Okay.
That's my favorite kind of thing. Southwestern Tex-Mex. This whole this internet meme about how white people don't like spicy food. No, that doesn't apply to me. I
Okay.
love I love it spicy.
All right. Oh yeah. At our fundraiser, you mentioned that you love having Uncle Ben's rice topped off with like what, maple syrup?
Yeah, okay. If you can't recognize the joke about cancel culture and think I actually eat rice with syrup on it, I don't know.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, it kind of sounds gross, but I guess it could be good tasting too, right?
I'll try it.
Yeah.
I've had rice with sweet and sour sauce on it at Chinese places, so
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
can't be bad.
All right. All right, Tim. Any last words? Any parting words or messages to anyone who's watching now, or not to anyone, to all those viewers who are watching now? Any parting words that you want to say?
Please vote on Tuesday. It'll make you feel big and strong.
That's right. I almost forgot. Primary is on Tuesday, right? June 8th. June 8th. If you're voting in the primary, which I hope you are, please vote for Tim and I. We are running mates, running for county commissioner. And I've listed on the screen here, you can find Tim's campaign on Facebook by searching for T Walsh BCC, right? T Walsh BCC.
Facebook.com/T Walsh BCC.
Yep.
Goes right to the page.
Yep. And, Tim and I were out almost every single night of the week going somewhere, right? So, and I think at some point we'll be posting like our schedules on our Facebook pages, right?
And that was only a warm up, Ron. I hope you're ready for it to get a lot more intense.
Oh, I was born ready. So, all right, Tim, I'll be seeing you on the trail. All right, buddy.
All right, sounds great.
All right,
see you, man.
Buddy. All right, peace out, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, great. Thanks for having me.
Sure. All right, guys. So that was my exclusive with Tim Walsh, my running mate. Yeah, Tim has been an operative in Bergen County politics, in New Jersey politics for quite some time, and I'm so glad and so proud to have him as my running mate. And I think we're gonna do an awesome job. Like I said, Tim he literally and personally drove to 800 houses to campaign when it was time for the policy committee vote. So with that kind of spirit, that kind of energy, I think we're gonna do very well. All right, guys, my next guests up on our show is they're running for council in Rutherford. All right, in Rutherford, and it's a beautiful borough, right? I believe Rutherford is a borough because you get confused, right? Some places they're towns, they're cities, they're boroughs, right? But I do believe that Rutherford is a borough, and we have Jasmine Gray and Peter Tuccino on our show tonight. They're both running for council, and they are running mates. Okay, so let's bring them on.
Hi.
Hey, hey guys.
I just want to say we are a borough. It's actually
Okay.
Rutherford is known as a borough of trees. So just
Okay.
wanted to
Okay,
We're not just a borough, we are the borough of Bergen County.
the borough
Okay.
of trees.
the
Absolutely.
borough. Okay, great. So wow, guys, this is the first time I've had two guests on at the same time. So
How exciting.
yeah, this is my first time trying to work this this like try window kind of thing. So bear with me. But anyway, I want to thank you guys for coming on. You
Good
know,
to be with you.
I've met Jasmine, right? Many times. I've never met Peter before. So Peter, so good to meet you, and thanks for coming on.
Likewise, thanks for having us. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, when I spoke to Jasmine, I asked her if you guys wanted to come on my show, and she was like, "Yeah, sure, we'll come on after the primary." And I told her, "No, Jasmine, you got to come on before the primary so we can get the word out, right? If you come on,
Absolutely. Well, I was just
Right.
trying to think, because we've
Right.
been door knocking and everything. So I was like, when are we going to have time to sit down? But yeah, you were absolutely right.
well,
We have been quite busy.
you're on the show now, and after the primary, when you guys win it, you'll also come on, right?
Absolutely.
course.
Absolutely.
All right. So why don't we start with Jasmine, okay? Because ladies first, all right? So Jasmine, why don't you tell us about yourself and why you decided to get into this dirty, seedy game of politics?
So my name is Jasmine Gray. I grew up in Rutherford. I have my undergrad in psychology from Willie P. I have my master's in special education from Rutgers with a concentration in applied behavior analysis. I've worked for over 20 years in the field of autism. And I decided to get into politics because I was fighting an expansion in town. And it was during that fight that I began to see things happening at a local level and decisions, and the lack of transparency was very concerning. And that's what really piqued my interest to get more involved. Hence, here I am.
Okay.
Rutherford is currently seeing a lot of redevelopment. So it was, fighting this expansion that raised many concerns, not only with me, but a lot of the residents. And I felt it was important to throw my hat in the ring, so to speak.
Okay. And so, Jasmine, you are a lifelong Rutherford resident, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you said that you've been working in the field of autism for 20 years. So you basically started working when you were like 5? Because you look like you're, oh my gosh, get out of here. You're 42.
Class of 97 RHS.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Well, you aged very, very well.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So, okay. So now on to you, Peter. Peter Tuccino, right? Wait, am I saying your last name correctly?
You are saying it correctly. Tuccino would be the Italian way to pronounce it. In America, very often we say Tuccino, but Tuccino is the actual correct pronunciation. First of all, I want to thank you for having us on your show.
Sure.
Similar to Jasmine, I grew up in Rutherford here. I'm a proud graduate of RHS myself, class of 87. I'm a tad bit older than Jazz. A graduate of Rutgers University as well, bachelor's degree in political science. Pretty much I've been self-employed my whole adult life. I own and operate a martial arts studio and gym.
Oh my gosh, martial arts. So
yeah.
People better not mess with you, right? I mean,
well, but similar to Jazz, as I indicated, I grew up here and I've seen a lot of changes in town. Change can be good. In fact, you do need change to progress, but not all change is good. And I saw a lot of the changes that were happening in town that I was not happy with. I think the current administration is giving away this town to developers. I think we're getting a raw deal. And it really motivated me to step up to the challenge. Instead of complaining about it to my wife or to my neighbors or to my friends, that doesn't do anything. But getting out there and running for office and making my voice heard, that does things. That is why I'm running. That's why I'm in it. In it because I see change happening in this town. And I'm not necessarily against change. I just want a good deal negotiated. And I think the deals that have been negotiated fall far short of that. And I know we can get a better deal. Without getting too much into the details, the most prominent example is the recent Amazon development. We've given away Amazon to the world's. We've given away a 30-year tax abatement to the world's largest, most powerful company. Rutherford gets nothing. The citizens, the residents of Rutherford are going to be facing a 2% municipal tax increase so that we could fund Jeff Bezos's divorce, essentially. Right. The Rutherford residents are paying for Jeff Bezos's divorce. We can get a better deal. We need to get a better deal. We can do better than this.
Okay. Now, let me ask you guys, are you guys both first-time candidates? This is your first time running, right? For both of you?
This is our first. Go ahead, Jess.
Oh, sorry. This is my second time running.
Okay.
This
And
is my
you-
first time running.
Okay, so Jasmine, you ran prior when?
Last year
Okay, for also council.
for council.
Okay, and how close were you in that race?
So I lost about by 1,100 votes.
Okay.
It was a major election year. It was very chaotic. I wasn't able to, get my face out there and door knock. We were met with a lot of challenges. It was quite the year. So I'm really excited. Today I was out door knocking with Peter, and it was just great to do all the things that I wasn't able to do last year and really connect with residents.
Right. By the way, when you told me today that you were door knocking, I was kind of worried. I was worried that you guys would both get, heat stroke and
Right.
come on.
It was so hot today.
The residents were wonderful. Almost everybody that we did connect with offered us water, offered us. The residents in this town were just wonderful to us.
Yeah, I mean, it was 95 degrees out today. Jasmine, I mean, I'm typically out, right? I'm out like almost like every single night doing like, campaign stuff. But today I was like, all right, I'm going to give myself a little break. It's 95 degrees. So what can I do on like a scorching day? Oh, I know. Let me go to a mall where it's full of AC, right? Free AC. So I went to that big mall, American Dream, right? Yeah. Have you guys been there?
I have not.
Okay, but you guys should go. It's a huge complex. I believe it's the biggest mall in the U.S., right? And it took many, many years for that thing to get built. So now that it's here, yeah. So now that it's here, we might as well use it, right?
Yeah, it's that project. Yeah. So what Peter spoke a little bit about redevelopment and the Amazon warehouses.
Right.
We're currently seeing warehouse sprawl. Now, NJSEA, which currently, owns American Dream, and they control the Meadowlands. So any, municipality that's located in the Meadowlands has no jurisdiction over that land. NJSEA makes the decisions on who will develop it, what will be preserved. So currently, Rutherford, 33% of Rutherford is located, in the Meadowlands. Therefore, NJSEA really has control of that property. And
Right.
so it's really interesting because we're seeing a lot of traffic that came with, American Dream Mall. Now it's concerning because now we're having this Amazon warehouse being built. I'm thinking about the diesel trucks. I'm very big into environmental issues and, what type of the air quality that, the diesel is going to cause and everything else that's going to come along with it, the traffic. And so it's very concerning the amount of development that we're seeing here. So I'm glad that they finally finished American Dream Mall because it was quite the eyesore.
I think it took like 15 years? Probably longer, right? I don't know. I mean,
From Xanadu to the American Dream.
right, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm glad that they finally, finished up this project. But what's also concerning is all the other projects that NJSEA currently has and how it's going to impact not only Rutherford, but, all these other towns like East Rutherford, which is our neighbor, so it's really, it's concerning, to say the
Right.
least.
So what's the population of, Rutherford?
It's about 19,000.
Yeah.
19,000.
Yeah.
And what is the breakup of voters, like, politically? Like, what is the breakdown of Democrats versus, Republican?
Registered voters, my understanding is it's about 55% Democrat versus, I don't know the actual independent, but about 55%. It's more registered Democrats than Republicans. For us, it's about capturing the independents, as I see it. And quite frankly, I've spoken to quite a few Democrats who, of course, they cannot vote for us in the primary, but have said, I've had enough with this Democratic Party in town. I see what's happening. I don't like what's happening. You have my vote. And I've spoken to many people who have said that, who said, as I see it, I don't think partisan issues are important on a local level because we're not voting on major issues that face the nation. We're voting on our pocketbook, we're voting on our taxes, we're voting on our school. So I don't think party affiliation on a local level is all that important. And having said that, therefore, I think a lot of people are willing and feel that something's happening in town and they're not happy about it. And I feel very confident going into the election for that reason.
Okay. Now, what is the current makeup of the borough council? Is it all Democrats or is it 50-50 or how is it?
All
That
done.
is-
All
Yeah.
Democrats. And I assume there's a Democratic mayor, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So what is your strategy for trying to flip those seats, right? Like, what are you going to do?
So the biggest issue in Rutherford, well, there's a few, but really, it's overdevelopment. It is also high taxes. So last year when I ran, I started to look at the budget. I started to look at the spending, and I came to find out that a lot of projects that we were spending money on, made me question, were there other, cost-effective avenues considered? Being that we have really high taxes in this town. The thought of overdevelopment, I started to look at the master plan. What I found to be very concerning is that there is no specific requirement with the amount of redevelopment projects, to be fulfilled. And that's concerning because what was mentioned in the master plan was that less than 1% of Rutherford's landmass is available for use to accommodate future populations. And a challenge with that was, where were we going to find more land? Well, we can't just make it magically appear.
Right.
So
Like you can't just build an island, right?
what?
No, I'm saying that you can't just build an island, right?
Yeah. So now that raises the issue of, or concern, I should say, is eminent domain going to be used? If we don't have properties that are in need of redevelopment, we're not against redevelopment. I think it's crucial for the growth of the surrounding area. We're against overdevelopment. And so are we going to start seeing eminent domain being used to seize private property for projects? And we're already seeing that being used in Rutherford. Agnew Place, it was mentioned, and it's really, the residents are up in arms. It's going to crush our infrastructure with the amount of projects that we currently have on the table. So we would like to go over, different avenues with residents. I think there should definitely be a forum because there's a lack of transparency with our current council. And, that's very concerning. I think that we should have a way where we can communicate and keep everybody aware of any and all new developments, with what's taking place in town, because a lot of residents are unaware. And that is where the issue comes in, is that all of a sudden they're hearing about this. And, some are in disbelief, like, wow, how could something of this, height and, scale happen without me knowing about it? So,
Okay.
And with redevelopment, we're bringing in a lot of people, so are we able to accommodate these people? Our schools are at max. So it's
Okay.
a lot
Well,
of things considered.
I'm going to play devil's advocate for 1 second, right? So I'm going to say, well, guys, what's wrong with all this, stuff that's going on? As you know, the more development that we get, right, it attracts, it gives businesses to all the local mom and pop shops, right? There's a lot more workers in town to build this skyscraper, to build this factory, to build this complex. So therefore, these small mom and pop, sandwich shops and pizza parlors and restaurants, they get business, right? And also this redevelopment, doesn't that add jobs too?
If I could take that on.
Yeah, sure, Peter.
That's the age-old argument, and that's the argument of the developer, certainly. The problem is that's just not the fact. When you look in the final analysis, after they've given their analysis, if you go back and then you do the analysis afterwards, that just never adds up. The problem is you're adding more children to the school district. For example, when you give somebody a pilot, right, payments in lieu of taxes, none of that money goes to the education budget. About 60% of the budget is education. That goes to the municipal side. That means, therefore, that the education, the educational part of the side of the taxes have to go up because now you have all those new children coming in. Plus, it further taxes our police, it further taxes our fire. So when you, in the final analysis, and it's not like this is virgin territory. This has been done for years and years and years. The development goes up. The developer says, here's what's going to happen in town. I'm going to add all this business to your town. It never pans out. Never pans out. We're not necessarily against growth. We just want the growth to be in character with the town. We don't want to be Hoboken. We don't want to be Jersey City. We like our quality of life here. We want to improve the quality of life. And secondly, we want to get our fair share. Quite frankly, the people in town, the current administration, previous administration, they've just negotiated a bad deal. Now, people may come up with all types of nefarious reasons as to why. I don't want to go there. Quite honestly, I don't care why. The thing is, they've negotiated a bad deal. We need to stop that. We need to stabilize the taxes, and we need to bring in development that's in character with the town.
Right. So basically, I guess on paper it sounds great, right? But when you get down to all the nitty gritty, you guys are getting a very raw deal, right? The raw end of the deal, right?
Certainly.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you guys, when you get into office, because I'm fully convinced that you guys are both going to win the primary and win the race, right? What is going to be your first order of business? Because, as you know, the borough council is what? It's like 8 members, 7 members, 9?
6.
Okay. If you guys both get in, when you guys both get in, the majority will still be Democrats, right? It'll be 4-2, right?
Yep.
So what can you do to kind of, further what your goals are?
Right off the bat, transparency, as Jazz indicated. Right off the bat, we want everything out in the open. What's going on here? Let's get the residents on it. Let's let them know. If you watch a lot of the meetings, I don't like a lot of the way that the meetings are handled. I think they could be handled a lot better. It seems as if almost the residents are bothering the current members when they ask questions. I don't like the way they're responded to, if they're responded to at all.
Right.
They're condescended to far too often. People are angry, as Jazz indicated, and they want to know what's happening. So right off the bat, we're going to bring transparency. That's first and foremost. Let's get out on the table exactly what's happening in town. Why is it happening? That's first and foremost. Second of all, when we open up the residents' eyes to what's happening and we make it more transparent, we believe that they're going to put pressure on those existing members, that they're going to have to stop and take a further look. We believe that we can convince them this is not in the best interest of town, that we can bring those people on board with us. I don't care if they're Republicans or Democrats. We all live in the same town. We all want the same thing. We want for the best of Rutherford. We have to look at them and say, guys, we need a better deal here. And I think once the public puts pressure on them, when they actually see what's happening, when we get out and what's going on, I think these people are going to have to respond to the political will of the people. They're not going to have a choice, or they're not going to have a position.
Yeah. I mean, have you guys considered maybe having town forums?
I'm all for it. I'm open for a debate, whether it's in person or via Zoom. If people are still concerned about COVID, I'm all for it. I want to get these issues out there and let people know what's happening. It really resonates. As we walk through town and we meet more people, and I've met so many people, even though having grown up in this town, I've been here for over 40 years, I still meet brand new people every day. I was just down at Kid Spot literally before this meeting with my daughter. I met a couple of people. They said, hey, we're really good. I said, what's important to you? Everybody says the same thing. I'm really concerned about what's happening. What can be done? This is what can be done. This is what's motivated us to run. So I'm sorry, what was your initial question?
No, I actually forgot, but what we're saying right now sounds really good anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Well, we've tried to organize things in the past, with candidates, and the candidates from the Democratic side just didn't show up or didn't respond.
Right. Well, I think they feel like because they're incumbents, they don't have to show up, right? And I think it's that type of arrogance that I think piss a lot of people off, right?
Yeah, this is a small town. At the end of the day, we're a small community. We really need to work together. As Peter said, at the end of the day, we all care about the same things, our quality of life, redevelopment. But yes, it's a shame that we have people. Am I echoing? Okay.
Well, I mean, you sound good, so it doesn't matter. Because I mean, what if there is an echo? It just means that what you're saying is being heard twice, and that's good, right?
There you go.
Right.
Glass is always half full. Yeah, so it's shameful. I would love to work more with the council members. I know when elected that we would make ourselves easily accessible. I think that's important. Communication is key.
Right. Okay, so you guys are currently in the primary. Are there primary opponents that you guys?
Yes, there are 4 of us running for 2 Republican spots.
Okay, but from what I understand, you two have the line, right? So you're on the same line with Jack Chitterelli, with yours
you.
truly, with yours
Yeah.
truly, right? Yeah.
That's correct.
So the other 2 candidates, they're running off the line, right?
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Now, there was no way to maybe talk to them to kind of say, hey, let's unify. Can you guys just like back us and endorse us?
It's been brought up. There wasn't a definitive response to
Okay.
that, but
Here's how I feel. We're a big part of the Republican Party. We are traditionally the Big Tent. The Democrats like to position themselves as the party of diversity. They're for diversity of everything except thought. We are the party that has diversity of thought. I'm glad other people are running.
Right.
It forces us to make our argument sharper. So I'm happy there are other people. I wish more people were running. Quite frankly, I think it's a great thing. We're a big
Be careful what you wish for.
with diverse issues. I will support whoever the Republican nominee is.
Right.
Again, not because it's a partisan issue, but because I believe the incumbents are doing a bad job. If the incumbents were Republicans, I would support their challengers. It's not a partisan issue. It's because I think they've done a bad job for the citizens of Rutherford.
Right.
The residents of Rutherford. So, to answer your question, I have not approached them, and nor would I, because I'm glad that people are running.
Okay. The current people in power right now, the incumbents that you hope to run against, how many terms have they been in office?
I don't know that. Do you know that, Jess?
so the incumbents, so Ray won last year. It was a half term, and this will be Councilwoman Beg Roberson's second term.
Okay, so there's relatively new, right?
Yes.
So that means it's easy to kind of pick them off then.
Well, and Councilman Guzman has stated that he is all for redevelopment. Yes,
Okay.
he has voted in favor of it and has made statements at the meetings that he's all about transit villages and redevelopment and smart development. And that's another thing. I don't think people really realize, certain terms that are used mean redevelopment. You
Right.
think smart development, like, oh, okay, doesn't sound, it's unassuming, but really, if you start looking into the process of redevelopment and the incentives that towns get to, approve them, it's smart development is, it's a term that we should all, really get familiarized with
Right.
and look into. It's very unassuming. And
just-
when you have council members that aren't very forthcoming with what they mean when they throw around terms like that,
Right.
it's concerning overall.
Yeah, just because something is named smart doesn't mean that it necessarily is,
Yes,
right?
yeah, definitely not smart. Not a smart move. Not smart.
We have a comment from Billy Prempe. This first one is just a bunch of fire. I guess he's saying that there's a fire in his house. Someone should call 911. I think he's in trouble. No, I'm kidding. He obviously means that you guys have given great answers, and I think he's absolutely right. Yep, you guys are. You guys are killing it, right? And I think
Thanks, Billy. And I hope
we do appreciate that, and your support as well.
But just on the off chance that Billy is in a house fire, please, if someone from 911 is watching, go to Billy's house and help him out. Okay. So let me ask you guys: when you guys, wanted to run for office, well, Jasmine, this is your second go, right? Peter, this is your first. Did your family members or close, your loved ones, did they have anything to say like, oh, please don't get involved? No.
Not at all. In fact, it was the complete antithesis of that. They said you'd be perfect for it. We need good people to get up. Not just my family, but my friends, my neighbors, anybody and everybody that I've mentioned it to, that I told, said, fantastic. We think you'll do an awesome job. You're just a person of intellect. You're a person of integrity. You want what's best for the town. You have no ulterior motives. I have no goals of higher office. It's not a stepping stone for me. It's because I care passionately about this town. My daughter's in the school system. I've lived here just about all my life. I plan on living here for many more years. And we just want this town to be everything it can be. And so it's just really out of a great passion. And I've received nothing but support from my family and friends.
Okay, great. Yeah, we have another comment from Billy. He says you guys are absolutely what Rutherford needs, 100%.
Thank you, Billy.
Thank you, Billy.
Yep. Okay. So I guess Billy is okay. He's not in a pit of fire. Okay.
Better
Okay,
not
good,
be. We need
good.
him in 2022.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Billy's running for Congress in 2022. He was on my
That's
show
right.
last week, guys. So if anyone's who's watching right now, if you want to catch that show, you could check it out on my Facebook page. Speaking of Facebook pages, I know that Jasmine, you have a Facebook page for your campaign, right?
Yes,
And
I do.
this is it. If you want to search for Jasmine's page, just search for Jasmine Gray for Rutherford Council. Peter, I did not put yours up because I was told that you're in the process of
Correct. It's
doing one.
currently not up, but of
Okay.
course they can reach us through Jasmine. It's fine.
But we
Yep.
also have the Rutherford Strong page. So that
Okay.
is basically, so we have the Rutherford Strong page. And we post up all of our events and anything that we're doing on the Rutherford Strong page. And then I have my personal page. We also have an Instagram page, Rutherford Strong. That
Let me
people
put that
follow
on the
well.
screen. So if people want to search for it, they just got to search for Rutherford Strong, just one
Rutherford
word.
Strong. Excuse
One
me?
word, right?
Yes, one word.
Okay, so this is it, guys. If you guys want to search for I guess this is your team page, right?
Right.
Okay, it's on Facebook, right?
Yes.
So
Facebook and Instagram.
Facebook, Instagram, Rutherford Strong. Okay, so can I say that you guys are Rutherford Strong and your opponents are Rutherford Weak? All right.
We're trying to keep this positive.
Definitely we are Rutherford Strong
Okay.
Yeah.
to the core.
All right. Well, if you guys wanted to have like a campaign slogan, you could go with that, right? Like we're Rutherford Strong, our opponents are Rutherford Weak. They don't care about you. But I know you guys want to keep your campaign on a positive note, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing.
Absolutely. I think we've all had enough negativity in 2020.
Yeah,
I want stay positive on how we can move forward. I think it's time for unity and healing for many. So I look forward to working and unifying and strengthening our community, regardless of what political affiliation you have.
Right.
I didn't mean someone facetious. I wouldn't say they're necessarily weak. I just think they haven't done the job they need to do. I just think it's more being inept, quite honestly.
Okay. So Rutherford inept, maybe? All right, guys. So one more question to each of you. Jasmine, let me start with you. What is your favorite food?
My favorite food, I'd have to say shrimp tacos from Azteca in Rutherford.
Okay.
Great answer. Yes.
I've been there twice in the past, 3 days?
Yeah, I think I saw on your Facebook post you were just there, right? I think yesterday. Right, yeah.
I was there last night. I was there a couple days ago with Billy. I told him he had to check out Azteca. So, yeah.
All right, well, now I have to go check it out too, right?
By far my favorite.
Okay, so shrimp tacos from Azteca. What about you, Peter?
That's an easy one. I do appreciate the softball question, particularly on the night. Well, I've been a huge advocate my whole life of health and fitness. So I'm a huge advocate for fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, beans. Really difficult to pinpoint one specific food, but I eat a plethora of. I love broccoli. I love all types of vegetables, particularly green vegetables. I love big old salads with chickpeas and onions and fresh tomatoes. I do eat a vegetarian diet, and so by far I'm a huge proponent of salads, but loaded with beans and spices, and I would have to go with that.
Okay, so basically you love veggies. Okay, I get it. I get it. Okay, so that means for your victory party on Tuesday, Jasmine, you're going to bring the shrimp tacos, and Peter, you'll bring the salad, right? All right, perfect.
Absolutely.
Guys, it's been a pleasure talking to both of you. When you guys win the primary on Tuesday, let's all come together and, you guys can, come back on. But we have to go celebrate, right? So I'm thinking we can all go to Azteca, and Jasmine, you can show us what these shrimp tacos are all about. And Peter, I'm sure they got salad there, right? They got salad there, right?
We do it as Azteca as well, and we usually get the veggie. What is it, burrito? I think we get the veggie burrito there. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Well, thank you so much for inviting us to come on.
Thank you. Thank you
Well,
for having
thanks for coming on, guys. Okay, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Good luck on Tuesday. And guys, Rutherford Strong, right?
Please
That's
vote.
right.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Bye.
All right, bye guys. Bye-bye. All right. So what a show. What a show. So you guys just saw a jam-packed show. First we had Tim Walsh, then we had Jasmine Gray and Peter Tuccino running for council in the borough of Rutherford. Okay. Tim Walsh, of course, is my running mate. We're both running for county commissioner. And of course, all four of us are on the are on the same line. We are on the Republican line. We share it with Jack Ciattarelli, who is running for governor. I fully expect him to win his primary on Tuesday because, let's be honest, he is the best candidate for the job, hands down. So, guys, thanks for watching tonight. Vote for all of us on June 8th in the primary. All right. So, guys, I will see you all next week. Same time, same place. So until we meet again, God bless. Good luck. And I will see you next Sunday. Okay. Love you guys. Bye-bye.